Hi, my name is Jonathan Cooley, and this is my interview assessment.
Explain the causes of World War One and give examples.
One of the causes of World War I was nationalism because Serbia wanted to take land from the Balkans, and Austria-Hungary didn't want that. And so to prove that Serbia was better and they didn't need Austria-Hungary bossing them around, a Serbian nationalist assassinated Austrian-Hungarian for Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And another cause of World War One was alliances, because Austria-Hungary and Germany were already in alliance before the war. So when Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, Germany was ready to help Austria-Hungary in the war. And then when Serbia saw, oh, they have alliances with different countries such as the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria, they called on France and Russia and Italy, United States later on in the war, and just to help them out. And another cause of World War One was militarism, because Germany, and mostly Germany, it expanded its army to help them, and it also had other ties with different countries, and they tried to use that to threaten the Allied powers into submission. And the last cause of World War One was imperialism, because the Allied powers were ready to take land from the Balkans by force, and the Central Powers didn't want that.
Describe the intensification of conflict in the Balkans that eventually culminated in World War One.
Well, Serbia was still trying to take land from the Balkans, even if it meant by force, and the Austria-Hungary or the Central Powers didn't want that to happen. So, trying to prove a point somehow that their country was better, a Serbian nationalist decided to assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand when there was already a rivalry between them.
Describe the global impact of World War One.
World War I was the first total war, which meant that every country that was involved in the war, it devoted all its resources and money and time into the war, such as like sending clothes, uniforms, food, weapons, and other technology. They devoted it all to the war. And then this was also the first war where they used different tactics and weapons, such as like machine guns, artillery, planes, submarines, chlorine gas, mustard gas. And they also used a new warfare technique called trench warfare. And this was also one of the beginnings of like promoting equal rights for women, because women had to carry out men's jobs in factories because men weren't there to do it themselves.
Discuss the conflicts events that forced the United States to abandon its policy of neutrality.
Germany began using a tactic called unrestricted submarine warfare, which means that whenever they saw a ship and it wasn't on their side, they would just shoot it down with the submarine. And this happened to a couple different American and British ships. With the British ships actually had American citizens on them. And later on, Germany tried to send a telegram to Mexico telling them that if they joined their side on the war, that they would give them land back that America took from them. But the telegram was intercepted by the British, and they sent it to America, which angered them and forced them into the war.
Discuss the collapse of the Central Powers that led to the surrender of Germany.
Well, Germany was off fighting France and Russia on two different fronts. Bulgaria and the Ottoman Turks surrendered because they didn't have that many people to help them with the allies. And while this was all happening, there was a revolution going on in Austria-Hungary, which turned their government into a republic, and they dropped out of the war. And then, after all that happened, the German public decided to turn on the Kaiser and made him step down from his position of authority and turn their government into a republic, which made them surrender.
Discuss what specifically President Wilson tried to accomplish through his 14-point plan.
President Wilson wanted to bring about world peace by unifying all the nations and trying to establish a quote-unquote League of Nations.
Why did European leaders oppose Wilson's peace plan?
They thought it would take up too much time and too much money to carry it out, and it would use up too many of the resources.
Discuss the provisions of the Treaty of Versailles and the other treaties signed after World War I.
The Treaty of Versailles stated that Germany had to accept responsibility that they started the war and that they lost the war, and it also made them take out all of their military and all of their navy and all of the air forces that they have, and it had to make them pay reparations for the war.
Explain the United States' refusal to sign the Treaty of Versailles and join the League of Nations.
The United States didn't sign the Treaty of Versailles because they thought it would take away too much of their country's autonomy. And they didn't join the League of Nations because they saw it was ineffective.
Explain why the Treaty of Versailles was called a peace built on quicksand.
The Treaty of Versailles was called a peace built on quicksand because it may have ended the war, but it angered the Germans enough to almost start another war. Because it made them do very drastic things, such as pay $33 billion in reparations for the damage caused in the war. And then it also upset them because they didn't want to admit the fact that they started the war, but they already knew that they did. And this is the end.